Welcome to Waco ISD TV. I'm here today with Kathy Wigtill and Cheryl Pooler, Waco ISD's Department for Homeless and Unaccompanied Youth. Thank you both for being here. You know, a lot of our students really have great lives. I mean, there are so many Waco ISD students who live the good life. Their parents are involved. Everything's going their way, and they are just looking forward to a fantastic life. But then there are other students who struggle in ways that most of us do not understand. Let's start with the definition of what's the difference between homeless and unaccompanied. I think there's a lot of confusion.
McKinney-Vento federal law is a law that applies to specifically students who are school age. Most of us understand homelessness. We think of a person on the street or on the bench or pushing the grocery cart. McKinney-Vento law is different in that it applies to school age children only. And it is basically, it's going to include a lot of the things that we normally would think of when we think of homelessness. We do see families who are sleeping outside or in their car or in a shelter. It also includes families who are living in hotels and doubled up because of economic hardship, which is a lot of families we have. Another component of McKinney-Vento is unaccompanied homeless youth, and that's our focus today, is to talk about, and many times that's a high school student who is living outside of the guardianship of someone, a parent. They no longer live with a parent or a legal guardian. And there are lots of reasons that come into play for how that comes about.
Well, Ms. Wigtill, I know that you are a case manager. Can you tell us some of the reasons that some of those students may have become unaccompanied?
Yeah, usually it's because home is not a safe place. It could be that there may be some things going on in the home, family conflict, where the student is just not safe there. Or there are times when students are asked to leave the home for different reasons. So that's the big deal for us, is that a lot of times there's the perception that, well, these kids just don't want to follow the rules. And that is usually not the case. Very rarely is that the case, because our students love their families. And if home was an option for them, they would be there. So that's most often what we see. And so then our students are left trying to decide, where is a safe place for me? Can I sleep on a friend's couch? Can I go with an auntie?
Called couch
surfing. And so for most of our kids today, we actually have about 90 high school students in our district who are unaccompanied. And at any given time, about half of those students are literally couch surfing. They don't have a stable, safe place to stay. And they're moving from week to week, from day to day. And that creates a tremendous hardship for those students.
So what do you do? Okay, let's just talk about a weekend. Let's say you're a couch surfer, because it's kind of understood that if you're a couch surfer, you don't want to wear out your welcome by spending too much time at home. So what do you do with your stuff? I mean,
these are the challenges our students have. Often they carry everything they have in a backpack, or they end up losing it. It's stolen or missing. And then they become at risk for a lot of other problems that can happen. They're at risk for dropping out of school. They're at risk for becoming a victim of human trafficking. They're at risk for becoming criminally affected or some other, there are just lots of risk factors that come immediately into play when a student is unaccompanied.
So let's just start with a Saturday. So you couch surf Friday night, but you want to leave first thing Saturday morning because you don't want to wear out your welcome. Where do you go? Where do you go?
Yeah. Well, some students will go hang out at the library, or they'll find another friend. They kind of have a circle of a group, and they have like a place where they can kind of rotate around, or they're outside.
And actually, a lot of our students, they're so resourceful that because of their home situation maybe not being stable for them, then they become involved in a lot of school activities on purpose to be able to have a place of belonging. They're in sports, or they're in ROTC, or they're in the arts. So these students are very resourceful, but in order for them to make the next step, get to graduation, go beyond high school, they need the support that is beyond what we can do in a school day.
Well, what about food? I mean, they probably eat breakfast that Saturday morning before they go. The family probably makes certain they've got something to eat.
Sometimes. I think food insecurity is a huge part of what our students are facing. Just because many times when they're living doubled up with someone, they're living doubled up with someone else who's already in poverty. And so there oftentimes isn't enough to go around. And I believe that and there's a lot of research to bear this out. I know through Texas Hunger Initiative, they would be able to give you the numbers, but food insecurity is a huge, huge factor with this population.
Well, I know just the other day there was an incident at University High that a teacher asked a young lady what was wrong, and she said, I have not had any food for 4 days. So I know, and teenage, I mean, as an adult, that would be hard, but we're not growing and don't need those extra calories to grow.
And so one of the things we've done with our unaccompanied, we partnered with Caritas and their SNAP outreach office to bring a SNAP benefits person to our high school campuses once a week to sit down with our unaccompanied youth so that they can apply for food stamps because they qualify if they are literally on their own. But we can't reach everybody in a school day, and so again, we're looking at how can we assist these students after 4 o'clock even.
Okay. So in your search for can we solve that, what did you come across?
For years and years, I've been meeting and talking with students who are just dealing with all kinds of issues. Everything from hunger to I'm sick, I don't feel good, or I need to wash my clothes, or I don't have the right stuff that I need to do my homework. And I began looking at other resources across the United States, and I learned about a model called a nurturing center, a teen nurturing center model. And there's a fabulous model right down the road in Georgetown, Texas with the Nest, and started dreaming big with some local folks here in Waco who really care about our students. And I will say, no matter where I've been on campus during the day, principals, coaches, teachers, choir teachers, band instructors, I mean, everyone is working, to try to make things pull together for our students. And so very, very excited about this opportunity. And for folks who are really working one-on-one with our students, they understand how critical it is that we create an after-school option for the students. And so a Teen Nurturing Center is, I believe, a really good opportunity for our students to come and when that bell rings at 4 o'clock, they're not dreading the bell. My kids come home at 4 o'clock hungry, and they raid the refrigerator, and they have a place to do their homework and rest or whatever. But if I'm an unaccompanied youth, that is not a luxury that I have, and it shouldn't be a luxury. It just should be something that we all have access to.
So for kids who have what we can consider a typical home, you get out of school and it's like, yay, I get to go home, I get to eat, I get to put on my after school clothes, have to do homework, get to play on the Xbox, get to play with the dog, do all this fun stuff with my family. The happy time. For the kids you're talking about, when that bell rings, it's problem time.
It presents a lot of challenges and questions.
Okay, so
The
based
Cove,
on the Nest, you decided.
We've got the Cove, and we have just recently become a 501c3, and we are going to be able to provide very soon a place for our students to come after school, and it would give them a place to wash their clothes, do laundry, eat a family-style meal together.
So how are you going to have, a 501c3, I know what that means. That means you're tax-free and you have these privileges, but you don't have money. So how are you going to feed these kids? You just said 90. You got 90 kids showing up. How are you going to feed 90 kids?
We are going to be reliant on our community to step up to the plate. These are our kids. And we've got a lot of community members that are vested in these kids' lives like we are through the school district, and so we need volunteers, we need churches to bring in meals.
Well, and that's, I know that several local pastors and local youth groups have talked to me about wanting to be the one, because we don't want to overburden anyone and say, okay, everybody's got, but if we say to a church, if you would be like the third Thursday of the month, that they would bring home cooked meal, whatever, knowing how many kids are going to be there. Now, do they drop off the food and leave, or do you want them to stay and be that positive adult presence? I mean, what What are the rules for this?
I think it will depend on what they can accommodate. I do believe that there's tremendous value in adults staying and interacting with our students. They really, and our students desire that. We've talked, we've had a student advisory council attached to this from the very beginning, and had the students talk about, what do you need? What would you want it to look like? Even down to, where do you want it to be?
And what do they say that they
they've
want? What's
given
the
us
number
some-
one thing?
They want to feel like home, a safe place, and they want it to be like home. So I do think that the students would appreciate it if people were to come and just, how was your day? How did you do on that test? All of those things, and even working through some of the issues with family of, this is how it worked for me when I was a kid, and I learned how to talk to my parents. And sometimes hearing it from another adult begins to build those bridges and mend some things with our students.
And we know from having relationships with our kids on campus, because these are kids that are on our caseload, we're meeting with them weekly on campus. We know that what's making a difference in their lives, and the ones that have graduated and gone on to success, was those relationships with teachers, coaches, counselors, just mentors. So we need volunteers also to sign on to be mentors, to come and just hang out with the kids, eat a meal with them, as Cheryl said, help them with tutoring, help them with next steps. And so we're in the process of setting up the application, and then obviously, because we're working with students, we'll have to have a vetting process, a background check for all of our volunteers, but that will be a critical piece of the Cove.
So it's not drop off the food or drop off the medical supplies. The real thing the kids want is bring in those things and stay and talk to me and get to know me and let me get to know you.
Right.
And I had also some of the presentations that couch surfing's tough. So the first thing you ask them when they come in to the Cove
After
will
we
be,
say, how was your day? We're going to say, where are you spending the night tonight? Do you have a safe place tonight?
so then that would give you, if they name the place,
Right.
they get to go in and have a seat and do whatever. But if they don't, you start.
We're going to get on the phone. Occasionally, if we have a student who's 18, then a shelter in the area could take them in. But truthfully, an adult shelter is not an ideal place for youth. And what we know, looking at best practices nationally, is that youth don't really want a shelter. They want that home environment. And so ultimately our goal is, from the people who come and volunteer and get to know these kids, would anyone be willing to become a host home?
What
And
does that mean?
Yeah, we've looked at some, and we're continuing to look at programs around the nation where this has worked. But right now, one of the students who's on our board, who's a college student, is living in a host home. He came to us last year and said, I'm going to be a senior at Baylor next year, but I have nowhere to live. And can you help me find a place? And so we were able to match him up with some friends of ours, and then just on their own, they loved him, he loved them, and it's been a great experience for him.
Just so we don't confuse the audience, when you talk about a senior at Baylor, one thinks that this student has paid a $90,000 tuition for the year, so if they've got money to go to Baylor, why didn't he have a home?
No, this is a student who's surviving on scholarships and loans that he will have to pay back when he graduates and gets a job. So I think we would be shocked to realize how many students, we have another student on our board. She is graduating in May with her master's in social work from Baylor, and she's been homeless throughout her high school career. And we would be shocked to know how resilient and successful these students could be.
I think she may have spoken at the soft opening you had at the Cove. Okay, we've already had the soft opening at the Cove, so let's go to that soft opening and see how it went. What do you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
So growing up, I experienced poverty. At times we lived doubled and sometimes even tripled up with other families. Things were just never really stable or secure. So I went to University High School, as she said, and my sophomore year in high school, there were drugs in my home and other illegal activity that was going on. It occurred prior to that, but in that year, my home was raided and we lost everything. So at that point, my brothers and I and my family, we couch surfed and we moved around with different families. We were highly mobile, as Cheryl said of other students. And like I said, things were just never stable. So I would go to high school and I would slap a smile on my face and I would pretend like everything was okay. And it was those caring adults that looked at me and that knew that something wasn't okay. And there were adults that believed in me and that pushed me and that motivated me to reach my potential. So during that time in high school, I wanted to be at school as much as I possibly could. So I was involved in literally everything. I remember on Tuesdays, I would go to school wearing my soccer uniform. And then on Wednesdays, I would go and I would wear my JRTC uniform. And on Fridays, I would go to school and I would wear my cheerleading uniform and band T-shirts. And I wanted to feel like I had a home. And in so many of those organizations, I did. And in so many of those organizations, I had caring adult mentors that pushed me and that believed in me. And it was those people that stepped in and not only believed in me and said that I could succeed and said that I could get out of poverty, but it was those adults that made a difference in my life, the ones that said, I believe in you, and not only do I believe in you, but I'm going to walk alongside you in this journey. I'm incredibly grateful for those adults, and around that same time, I started going to Mighty Wind Worship Center, and I got involved with the local youth group, and I was just extremely grateful to have that as a home. And so now I stand before you as a local college pastor at the same church. I stand before you as a graduate of Texas A&M University and as an almost graduate of Baylor University. And I say that not to brag on myself at all, because if I look at my past, there is no way that I could have done that alone. But I say that because I'm the embodiment of so many people that invested their time and their energy into me, and people that believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And so I'm incredibly grateful for all of those people. And at the time, of course, I wish that I had a place like the Cove to call home. So when I look at this place, I see so much good work that's going to be done in our students. And I don't know if you know, but in the past year, 100% of our students graduated. And I hope that that speaks to not only the loving care of Waco ISD Homeless Outreach and the work of Cheryl and Kathy and countless others, but I hope that that also speaks to the incredible resiliency that our students have. And I hope that when you look at them, that you not only see homeless student, but that you see so much more than that, because they're students and they're athletes. They're volunteers, they're members of different organizations, and they are incredibly, incredibly brilliant and resilient. And I stand here before you not only representing my story, but countless other stories as well. And my story doesn't reflect theirs, and all of us have very different stories that are very different from each other. But I thank you for being caring adults. You don't really understand the impact that you have until afterwards. And so now I can go back to those adults and show them where I am, and we can celebrate together. So I hope that you are as excited as I am about the good work that's going to be done at the Cove.
We're back. Okay, very interesting. So that was Destiny. What a beautiful young lady.
Yes, she is an amazing young lady. And basically, that's what I'm seeing with most of our students. I mean, they are students with dreams, they have potential, and the bar is just going to be set much higher for them. They have a lot more to overcome, and many of our students who are unaccompanied face those types of situations, whether there was an eviction and the family became homeless, or a drug situation or criminal behavior of some sort was taking place in the home. There are any number of things, and honestly, this is not unique to Waco. This is happening nationally. This is a national crisis with unaccompanied homeless youth. We see it here just like they're seeing it everywhere else in the United States. But what we know is when we have students who can stay in school and finish and graduate, we exponentially increase their chances for success as an adult. And so that is our goal, is to get them launched into adulthood so that they can move beyond survival, that day-to-day survival, and thrive and grow and just become a contributing member to society that they're proud of and feel, everything that they dreamed of for themselves, they can become.
And break that cycle.
Absolutely.
Right. And when you hear Destiny's story, she's talking about the role that positive mentors and positive adults had in her life. And so what we find with the kids we work with on campus, they know who to go to for help. They come to us, they come to their counselors, their teachers, their coaches. Then what happens when they graduate? So again, the Cove, we are hoping that because we're establishing these relationships with these students, when they go on to college, when they go on to a training or the military or career, we want them to know you can always come back. And when you need something, you call us. I had a student just this year who had moved and left Waco ISD, and when she came back to Waco, first person she called our office. Can you help me? I need this, I need that. Because that's what they've used to be able to become successful in high school, to be able to really survive and thrive. And so when they are out of high school on their own, I think the Cove again is going to be a place where we can follow up with those students. Those relationships don't have to end, and we can continue to be a support to them so that they can achieve their dreams and goals.
And that's because family relationships don't end.
That's right.
They would go back to their mother, typically our father, our parents, or their family, however they define family. But if you don't have that, then you two now, but what you're hoping is the Cove. So by bringing in these churches and other people who want to help, they will be building relationships with them and talking about things that probably families talk about, like your spiritual life, what your future is, what your choices are, and that's how that relationship grows.
The community support has been overwhelming from everywhere, every angle. The church community, Baylor, citizens just off the street will call and hear about what's going on, and everyone who doesn't want to be a part of something that's going to make a student's life better. So we are very, very blessed with lots of opportunities, and so at the Cove, some of the resources we know our students would need, and this is what they're telling us, sometimes they do need help dealing with some legal issues. Sometimes they need help with mental health issues. They're not well, and there's lots of good reasons that explain that. We know trauma is a very big background for students who grow up with the kind of uncertainty that some of our students are experiencing. So we would partner with some community mental health professionals to come in and provide resources. Sometimes it's physical health issues that are going to need to be addressed. So we're looking at how we can bring in a community health practitioner who could help address some of those. When you are growing up with the uncertainty that our students have grown up with, their health is not always addressed. Those needs are not addressed properly. And so how can we get them back on track, and dental and just any number of things. But so a wraparound is the best way I can say it, just a general big wraparound array of services. And most of them would be in kind, people who we've spoken to that said, yeah, we'll make sure that we can meet with your students and take care of them. So.
But the reality is, in order for us to even open the doors to our students, we have to have funding in place. We need to hire staff. Right now, our board is just doing everything volunteer, and we need to hire staff.
So where are you on that? What needs to happen next? Okay, we've had the soft opening. The kids are already knocking at the door, okay, because just hearing about it, I've already heard, can't wait, when do we get to go over there? And I think they're the most extreme cases you're actually already dealing with at the Cove.
Yes, we have several students who Kathy is meeting with, and the interns from Baylor are meeting with regularly, and just in a crisis intervention kind of a way.
And that will last until the end of school.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what needs to happen between now and when school starts?
We are in a major fundraising mode. We have to, because we need to be able to hire staff, an executive director, and a case manager. Executive
director sounds kind of fancy and like a big pay. So, because if I were listening, I want to help, but I don't want us pay. I wouldn't want the Cove paying for this staff of people who are going to be sitting behind their desks working hard while the kids are sitting out there.
Sure.
So tell me.
It would be a working position. I know that
Okay.
does sound rather flowery.
Okay.
It's generally a term that's often associated with a nonprofit.
Okay.
And it's whoever is going to take responsibility for the implementation of policy, procedure, protocol. And so you generally call that person an executive director. But they will be sleeves rolled up and working with the kids.
About what does that pay?
I do not know. Now, we're working with the Waco Foundation, the Cooper Foundation, right now very closely to get ideas of do we need a social worker for that position, or do we need a business person?
Okay.
And what would the pay need to be? And because all of us want this to be successful. So these next decisions coming up are very critical.
So they're kind of going to be like the teaching staff. You get paid a living wage, but you're probably not making what you ought to make considering the hours you're working and the stress.
The nonprofit world isn't famous for getting wealthy.
Okay. Good
So,
to know.
yeah.
But we do need someone who can manage the financial part of things, and that's a big piece of what that position would do.
Okay, so you've got one person who's going to be, and it's not like an 8 to 5 job. That actually sounds like a 2 to 8 or 9 job. So
yeah, the hours are going to have to be very flexible, and especially for the executive director, because they have to be on site when the students are in the program from 4 to 8, 4 nights a week. So, and then the case manager would also be there. And then there's a lot of preparation and follow-up and networking that needs to happen before students come. Someone has to set up who's coming from mental health, who's running the volunteers, and just all of that. And then the other part of this that's been a tremendous learning curve for me is the policy and the protocol that goes behind the scenes for everything from safety and security, and how are we going to handle different situations just to make sure that our students are protected.
because sometimes they don't understand there's predators. I mean, one reason we're not giving the address, not that, it's not going to be hard to find, but we say it's strategically located between the 2 high schools.
Absolutely.
But sometimes our kids, someone may show up, we don't want to show up because these kids are easy prey. And as we were talking about it, Unbound, there are some people who do not want our kids to have a safe place. So what happens then?
Well, we're working right now with the City of Waco Police Department and McLennan County Sheriff's Department, and with Susan Peters at Unbound, in creating a safety plan. And we even have a human trafficking protocol that we're going to have into place so that our students are protected. And honestly, these are protocols that are coming into play in all kinds of youth programs all over the United States. We've come to the day and age where this is now the world we live in. And if you are going to be providing services and resources to at-risk youth, these are the kinds of conversations you're having.
And I also heard that we had the real estate broker that you work with, Mr. Dylan Meek, has a special place in his heart for the Cove, worked extremely hard to find the right place. And there is some thought that we're getting a really good deal because of his generosity.
He has been very helpful
their
to
whole
us.
staff in their company.
Has been very, very helpful to us, and even down to helping make sure that the building had showers and located in a way that made sense, and it was safe for the students, and the washer dryer hookup, and just listened very carefully to what we needed and caught the vision for what our students would, what would make a difference for the students, and then they were fully on board and very helpful to us.
So right now, in addition to fundraising, we're also equipping the facility.
Okay.
So if
what
you
do you
go to our
need?
website, which is thecovewaco.org, there's a wish list there. And so for each room, there's a list of the items that we need donated for those rooms.
So you're wanting the rooms to look like what?
Home.
Home.
Yes.
We don't want an institutional
We don't want
place.
institutional.
We want a home.
We want a home.
Homeroom.
And we want good quality items. They don't have to be brand spanking new, but we want it to be like I would put in my home, you would put in your home.
We want it to just feel like a safe, warm, nurturing environment for the students. And the different rooms would be maybe certainly there's going to be a place for kids to do homework and technology. There would need to be a space where students would be able to sit and talk with a professional maybe who's come by, or a doctor or a mental health professional. Music. Many of our students need a place to practice their instrument and their music. And so there's just so many fun, and this property is so flexible that the sky's the limit. We can do so much for the students out of that site.
Well, it sounds like this is one of those things that a lot of community members want to get on. Let's go to some of those community members and let's see why they are supportive of the Cove and what they want to do to help.
You know, we believe that this is the church's job, to take care of the orphan, the widow, and this is a very practical, tangible way where we can do that, to obey Jesus' command to take care of the orphan. Many of these kids, you know, they don't have family around them. They're hopping from couch to couch or room to room, apartment to apartment, and they need a safe place. And so this is a small way where we can be the church and hop in there and say, here we'll provide a couch or a room or a safe place for you to come and just be there for them. You know, share the love of Jesus through a building and a safe place for them.
This is very important to our young people in our community that struggle so much, and we're just proud to be here to stack hands with God and with the people of our community and to just make a difference. So,
When you say high-risk youth, what does that mean?
oh man, it means like the target audience we're trying to reach here, the kids here that are homeless, that are come from extreme broken families and poverty, and just a lot of crazy, dangerous things going on in their lives. And we got at-risk youth that are, all youth are at risk, right? Then we got high-risk youth that are the water's up to here with them. They're in it, the thick of it, and they're drowning like yesterday. And so they're bleeding out everywhere. And I say that meaning all the struggles, the problems, the hurts, frustrations, the environment they live in. And so they've been, of course, you all know, they've been needing our help since forever. And so I'm just very proud to be a part of it. I'm very excited. This is a huge, huge answered prayer, and very grateful to come alongside and help.
I feel like it's our duty to give back. I think we're all one paycheck away from perhaps being homeless, and I don't think we would all be here if it weren't for other people supporting us and believing us and helping us in life. And so my son and I are big fans of wanting to give back. We have more time than money, so we like to help out in any way we can.
We're always looking for ways to help our community and our people. And there's always all kind of competing needs. And it's important, in my opinion, that we help our future, which is our children, because they tend to be, they tend to fall between the cracks. And we look at schools, and you see them as schools. It's important that we look at them as a holistic cure for the whole community.
As a banker in this community, we are involved, we are supported, we're encouraged to get out and get involved. But as a parent of some Waco ISD students, as an active church member here at St. Paul's Episcopal Church, and my activities and my efforts from where I volunteer, some of my time with some youth programs already. The Cove is very interesting to me. It's an issue that I would love to be part of a solution, and I'm excited. I was asked to participate and assist with some of the financial elements as we are, the Cove is actively pursuing grants and funding sources. So I've been working with Rosemary a little bit to help bring my financial background to the table to help, but I hope to be a lot more involved in the success of what we're doing.
We're here now with Mr. Dylan Meek. Welcome to Waco ISD TV.
So glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. For those of you who don't know you, you are a city council member. Heard great things about you.
Thanks so much.
That you are an attorney, and you are a part owner of the new restaurant Fuego's, which always has a crowd around it.
Some good food there, hopefully.
Well, that's what we're hearing.
Yeah.
But they also may not know that you're part of a real estate investment group.
That's right.
And so how did you, as part of that group, get into the Cove?
Sure. I've been talking to Cheryl, go to church with Cheryl, and have been working with the Cove early on since they kind of began. And whenever I knew about the Cove, was working with the Cove, and even knew that they were kind of looking for a place. Our investment group had this property, this building, and we're in the process of rehabbing it. It's a spot near downtown, and was trying to think through, hey, who would be a good tenant for this? And had even sent out a couple of emails to people around the community saying, hey, we have this property near downtown. If you have any ideas, let us know. And someone said, hey, I think the Cove would be a great tenant for that. And I'm thinking, wow, I can't believe I didn't think of that myself. I should have. And so called Cheryl up and said, hey, I think we might have a really good spot for you guys. Y'all come check it out. And so brought the group over and started giving them a tour, and started having a conversation about, hey, what could this look like for this place to be the Cove?
What did make it? Tell us what made it perfect for the Cove.
Well, I think it's really versatile. It's got a lot of different, it's got some big areas. It has a kitchen, and it has small rooms. And the vision that I saw for it was, hey, we could really make this feel like a home. And it wasn't built to be a home. It was built to be a commercial space, but I thought that it had the potential to really feel like a home. And that was our goal when we were renovating the space was, hey, let's make this feel like a home. And let's make it feel like a residence for these kids who need some sort of consistency in their life and need some sort of home that they can go to after school.
Well, Ms. Pooler says that she thinks you have a special place in your heart for the Cove and the kids at the Cove.
Yeah, these kids don't have the same opportunities that so many other kids have, and I think that'll break your heart. I think if you really learn about the everyday lives that these kids have, it really touches your heart in a deep spot. And so I do feel called to help these kids out. I think I feel called to play whatever role I can in making sure that they have a chance to be successful in life. From a city perspective, I think it's important to address this need because we want our city to be financially secure. We want our city to make sure that its children are being educated well, and these kids definitely have some disadvantages that they're facing because of their home life. And so my hope is that the Cove and the facilities that the Cove will be housed in are going to really give these students an opportunity to really excel in their careers and in their lives. I think the real motivation for me, though, is that I want these kids, I care about these kids and want them to have a great opportunity in their lives.
Well, it certainly shows we have a lot of support in the community. So everyone is saying the right thing, everything I'm hearing. So where are we now?
We are at the place now where once we finish equipping the building, we still cannot open the door to our students until we raise enough funds to hire our staff, to vet our volunteers. And so we are now asking our community, would you be a donor? We know that students' lives will be changed. We will end homelessness for that student. We will set them on a career path to be self-sufficient. We will equip them to be good community members. If we don't, the cost to our community is actually far greater than supporting our students. So if someone could give $25 a month, $30 a month, one-time gifts, that is what we are needing.
So are you saying we're at risk of losing the Cove and it hasn't even really opened?
I don't feel like we're at risk of it. I would say that there's definitely a little bit of a delay in that our funding, we have got to get the funding together. I mean, money makes the world go round and nothing is, this is going to be a challenge to get everything together. But I will say, I'm in the community a lot. I'm at a lot of meetings and I know that this is something that everyone is agreeing that this would be helpful for the students, especially when you hear the students give their, and so I believe it's, yes, it's going to happen and it's a matter of how do we go from here. And so the answer to that is fundraise. Whether it's a small amount or a large amount, it all adds up, and we are ready to put that into action and get a plan together for our students.
So a lot of people may think it's $25. If I send that's such a small amount of money, but you're saying that's not a small amount of money.
No, it is not. In fact, we think that amount, somewhere between $25 and $35 a month, would fund a student at the Cove for a year, provide for their meals, provide for the laundry detergent to wash their clothes, help pay for the background checks for the person that's going to mentor them. So no, that actually will change the trajectory of a student's life.
So who would they send that check to? I mean, Waco ISD to the
No,
Cove?
not to Waco ISD, sorry. It's going to go to the covewaco.org. If you go to our website, there is a donation link on there where you can donate to the covewaco.org.
And I know you kind of dodged you're confident that, but let's play out the worst case scenario. I mean, let's say everyone is counting on someone else to give the money, or they think, it's my understanding that our local foundations, who are very, very generous, but they have rules that they don't do startups, so we need to get to a certain point before we can approach them.
Absolutely.
So we need to help get to that point, so that would enable you to go to our foundations and give them what they need to maybe put a little bit bigger than the $25.
Right.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's good to know. So we get to that point, and then we would be able to have this great thing for our kids. But if we don't get to that, that means we go back to our kids doing what?
Right. Well, I know from sitting on a committee at Bill Logue Juvenile Detention that it costs about $35,000 a year to house a student at the Juvenile Detention Center. And so, unfortunately, that could be the kind of future a student is looking at if we don't step in now and intervene now and provide the care and the services that they need now. And then the cost of chronic homelessness, you probably could put a dollar figure on that.
About $38,000 a year to keep someone on the street. And
Really?
that's a national figure, but it was also confirmed in a study for Waco. And we know that research is bearing out that students who drop out of school or who are homeless in school have a much higher chance of becoming chronically homeless as an adult. And so we do need to break this cycle. We cannot give up on our students. By their 21st birthday, there's an 87% chance that they will either be incarcerated or chronically homeless. And that's unacceptable. We are working to make Waco a fabulous place, and that's not what our students want for themselves either. And so how can we help them get where they need to be?
Well, and you also brought some students for us to talk to about the homelessness. Let's go to our students that came to us. These are Waco ISD students who are going to talk a little bit about what it's like to be homeless or unaccompanied. We're here with Trellis, one of Waco ISD's homeless students. Trellis, welcome to Waco ISD TV.
Thank you.
Thank you for being willing to speak with us so you can help everyone in the community understand what it's like to be homeless when you are a kid.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
So tell me, how did you come to be homeless?
Well, it was more recent than as I was younger, but me and my mother and my 3 siblings, we were staying in Austin. That's where I originally lived majority of my life, but I'm born in Waco. We were staying in the house for a period of 8 years, and then the owners wanted it back and got kind of kicked out overnight type thing. So that kind of threw us off because, when something like that, you're having to find somewhere else. And we were staying with my cousins for a while, and that didn't work because they have their family and 4 kids of their own, and us, including my child, was hectic. And then we were just kind of bouncing from place to place for a while, and finally we settled in Georgetown for a year, and I was still with my mother, except it minimized to my child, myself, my son, and my mother and my sister. And we went to New York after a period of a year staying in Georgetown. And when I went there, I mean, I was already behind in school. When I had my child, I mean, I didn't go back to school. I wasn't, interested in going back to school. I wasn't encouraged in any type of way. And, I struggled there. And, I mean, we're struggling because it was a whole new place. We're so used to Texas and, various areas of Texas versus New York and a whole different academic level, not knowing any people, no family, And I wasn't happy there. There was confrontation between my mother and myself and my sister. And it was just hard. I still am, and I was a single parent, and it was not easy dealing with that, school, and trying to work. And, it was just hard. So I decided to move back here with my grandmother, and that's who I reside with now. And that's when I became an unaccompanied youth because she's not my legal guardian, and I wasn't in school for the first 3 months. And I started off at Waco High, and it was rough. I didn't have any support, any transportation, no help with my child. I don't have help from the other parent, and just the resources were horrible. And then came along Amy.
And tell us who Amy is.
Amy is a Baylor student, and she works with the Cove. And I can't exactly remember the organization, but I know she works for unaccompanied youth. And now with the Cove, it's a nonprofit unaccompanied youth organization. And she's just been my miracle worker.
Tell me what miracle workers do, because that's what we're looking for in the Cove, in providing miracles and miracle workers for students like you.
It can mean so many different things, but me personally, Amy, she was not only there as kind of a counselor, I guess you could say, but a friend. She was there for moral support, but also, she stayed professional with it. But it wasn't I felt like I was being interrogated, or if I was, feeling pressure to speak to her. If I said something wrong, that I may get in trouble, or my child, just anything, And I just was real comfortable with her. And over this past year, I became more comfortable, and we've grown so close together, and she's helped me. And I now attend Brazos, still trying to finish high school.
How close are you to finishing
I have
high
2
school?
classes left. I started with 9 credits, and now I have 18 and a half credits. And that's a period over almost a year and a half. And I'm ready to be done, but, Amy, the resource, y'all, the Cove, and other ladies, a part of the group Amy's working with, have been so helpful, and, just kind of been great at encouraging me not to give up. It might be easier to go work and, take care of your child, but at the end of the day, you can't get nowhere no more with a GED, let alone a high school diploma. That you need much more. I'm so excited to look back and, all the trials and tests that I went through of, where I started when I first moved back to Waco versus where I am now. And I look back and I'm just how am I so happy? I managed to stay happy and just kind of be okay with everything. I'm hurt, in being homeless and not with my mom. It's hard, it's hurtful, and it was a struggle, but at first I really truly didn't realize, the help I was receiving, and I didn't realize in the depth how much they were helping me. I just was oh, they're there if I need them, kind of thing, just like family, just kind of there for moral support.
Is that what they took the place of, since your mother was somewhere and your grandmother wasn't as strong in your life? It was Amy and the other Amys who kept you going, and they were that moral support.
Yes, and my family, they were there, not physically, but more kind of emotionally, mentally. But also when I first met Amy, my grandfather had just passed away. And we were close, my son was close, and it was just so hard. And that was another reason I was just I don't want to finish school. I don't want to come to school, She was very caring and, wasn't heartless about it, She was very understanding.
Tell me what it was like you were a teenager, wondering what's going to happen, where's your next meal going to come from? Tell me about some of those days.
As a child, you don't really understand seeing your parents cry and stuff and I see my mom crying, I don't know, all I knew was it hurt. And I didn't want to see my child go through that. I didn't want to feel that emotion no more. But it made me stronger at the same time, and it made me, a little more of a no, instead of a yes man, say no. Quit saying yes to everybody. Because me now, with having Jaden, all I do is watch everybody's kids. I do this and nothing in return. And I'm not spiteful for it, and I won't take it on the kids because they're innocent no matter what. But I don't want to see anybody else, whether it's a kid or grown man, homeless man. My grandma has taught me so much over these last 3 years being with her. You know, she's such a woman of God, and she's like, you know, what if that's God's testing us? You know, do this, give them money, even if they're going to go spend it on beer, drugs, or such and such, do it. You don't know it, you know, don't worry about it, don't think twice, because you wouldn't want somebody to do the same to you. And that's where Amy falls in, like my miracle worker. She came in and saved somebody didn't. Where would I be? But I try not to focus at the same time. You know, I'm trying to focus on where I'm at, what I want to do, and what I'm going to do. You know, having to feel like you don't have nothing to eat, or you don't have nothing to eat, or your child, you know, and my son, there was plenty of times where I'm eating. I hate that. I really do. And so if he wasn't eating, I'm not eating. And even now, he's just a picky eater. So if he's not eating, I'm not eating. I don't want him to feel he's going through anything alone. I don't want anybody to feel, because I didn't have these resources growing up. I was 15 when I got pregnant. I was 15 when I had my son. I'm now 18, will be 19 soon. And I've grown so much, and I've learned so much from so many people, that when I look back on life and I'm just look at the people who kind of, you know, influence something positive on me, and you would never guess. You would never think when you're in a situation such as I was, that you could be so happy, so positive, because there's so many kids thinking about suicide, doing drugs, this, that.
Other homeless kids.
Homeless kids.
Unaccompanied kids.
Exactly, unaccompanied kids, even kids with their parents, you know. They feel that they're going through hell and back, and I felt that was my hell and back, you know. But
so just the idea of the Cove and working with the Cove and working with the Cove staff.
I'm ecstatic. I wish I want to stay. I do, but I have some things I got to take care of in New York.
What are you going to do when you get your high? Because I'm confident talking to you that you're going to get that high school diploma.
Yeah, I'll see you next week.
And so, what are you going to do? Tell us. I mean, we've gone from a homeless kid with a baby, wondering where the next meal's coming from, to a very confident young lady who's about to graduate with a high school diploma. Okay, what are you going to do after that?
I want so much, and I don't limit myself. I want to be an entrepreneur for business management. And I have a little boy. I have a kid, but I have a little boy. And you know, they make all these cute little girly clothes, cheap and expensive, you know, and boys' clothes. If you're not buying it expensive, it's hard to find decent clothing wear. And so what I started doing when I first had my son was upcycling, skilling, and making clothes for him. And so that's kind of what I want to go into business for, is to make clothes for boys, just to start. But I also want to get a CNA license and then become an RN. And I want to work in pediatrics with children. Not only that, I want to go back to school. I want to get my master's. I want to get my associates, and I want to get my bachelor's in business management. And you know, from there, I've thought a lot. I'm so out there, but those are like my main two focuses. But
well, we would love for all of our homeless and unaccompanied students to have the kind of success that you are about to have, and to have the kind of dreams. Is there something you could say, if you could say something to those kids that you are talking about that may be suicidal, that they're in such worse circumstances, if you could talk to them now through this camera, would you look into the camera and tell them something, because they may be watching?
I would just say, like, the main thing is to never give up. Don't let nobody's negative, you know, put a damper on your day, influence you. Don't let nobody, you know, say anything hurtful and it affect you. Because it hurts. I mean, so many people said negative things and still say negative things or do things that I don't like. But I mean, if we could have everything our way, you know, it would make life so much easier. But at the same time, you have to do it for yourself, whether you have a child or not. Do it for yourself, and you don't have to impress nobody or, you know, show nobody, look, I did it, because you do it for yourself. You do what makes you happy.
But would you also give a message to those people who are helping? Because Amy plays so big in your story, and you mentioned that she's from Baylor, and I will tell you that Baylor University has just been huge in working with our kids, who's our most fragile kids, and who they struggle, and just that Christian influence just their hand is always out saying, what can we do to help? What can we do to help? So would you encourage them and the ones who are out there helping kids like you? Would you say something to them?
I want y'all to know that personally, Amy has been like my best friend, you know, professionally and unprofessionally. And y'all are doing a great thing for everybody out here, and everyone you help and touch, whether they realize it now or later on in life, you are helping them with a positive effect to keep going, to not give up, to not commit suicide, to not do drugs, to not think that they can just work the rest of their life without having a better education. They have to better themselves. And you have been able to given this opportunity to them to, you know, kind of take a second look, you know, rather than just be influenced by peers or peer pressure. And I'm like so thankful that there are people like you out there. Due to my situation, Amy was my rock when I needed her. And I'm very appreciative for her, and I wish that, you know, y'all get y'all acknowledgement from others who are helping you, that y'all are helping. And I wish that, you know, everything goes good for y'all life because y'all are making a positive impact on others. And we are all very appreciative. I speak for everyone because I'm very appreciative about it, you know.